14th century Europe. The Black Death is tearing through the continent. Wars are burning entire kingdoms to ash. And in the chaos, while humanity is at its weakest, the vampires walk out of the shadows. Not hiding anymore, not waiting. They take control of an entire valley. They cut it off from the outside world, and they start ruling everything inside it. You play as a young man named Cohen who gets caught in the middle of all of it, comes out the other side as something that should not exist, and now has 30 days to save his family before that world closes in. Here is everything you need to know. Before the game, the people who built it deserve a proper introduction. Konrad Tomaszkiewicz directed The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt, one of the most celebrated RPGs ever made. In February 2022, he left CD Projekt Red, founded a new studio called Rebel Wolves, and started building something from scratch. The team he assembled reads like a greatest hits list. His brother Mateusz came in as creative director, Daniel Sadowski as design director, Jakub Szymalek as narrative director, Bartłomiej Gawel as art director. All of them former Witcher and Cyberpunk 2077 veterans. They started with around 20 people. By 2024, that number had grown to 90. As of April 2026, Rebel Wolves has 160 employees and counting. This is not a small indie studio making a passion project on a limited budget. This is a full team of experienced developers, backed by Bandai Namco, building a brand new franchise on Unreal Engine 5 with the kind of ambition that only comes from people who have shipped games at the highest level before. And the Blood of Dawnwalker is the first thing they have made together. The game is set in 14th century Southeast Europe, specifically in a fictional region called Vale Sangora, a valley nestled in the Carpathian Mountains. The setup is this. 2 years before the game begins, a vampire called Brensis arrived with his followers and seized control of the entire valley. He isolated it from the outside world, manipulated religious belief to bring many humans over to his side, and established a vampire hierarchy that now controls everything inside the valley walls. The rest of Europe is dealing with the Black Death and endless conflict. Nobody is coming to help. Nobody even knows what is happening inside Vale Sangora. The people who rejected Brensis's rule started turning to occult practices to resist, and the valley became a closed world with its own politics, its own factions, its own power struggles happening entirely in isolation. The world you explore inside it is genuinely varied. Caves, mines, settlements, swamps, hidden paths, underground ruins, and locations across the Carpathian landscape that the development team built with Unreal Engine 5 at full capacity. The gameplay footage showed a world that feels lived in, dark, and full of things that reward you for paying close attention. Now the story itself. And it is genuinely one of the more interesting setups in recent RPG history. Cohen grew up in a peasant family as the oldest of 4 siblings. His childhood was not easy. He started working in the silver mines alongside his father as a young kid. He was intelligent and curious, someone who dreamed about leaving the valley, seeing the world, escaping the weight of family obligation that kept him in place. He never got to leave because his family needed him and he could not abandon them. Then Brensis arrived and everything changed. During Brensis's takeover, Cohen was exposed to silver poisoning, and here is where it gets interesting. Instead of killing him, the silver poisoning prevented his full vampiric transformation. He became a Dawnwalker, a being that sits permanently between 2 worlds. Human during the day, vampire at night. Neither one fully, both at once. Brensis, for reasons the game slowly unpacks, saved Cohen's sister Lunka from both execution and the plague. She is now under his control, which is exactly why Cohen cannot walk away from Vale Sangora. He has 30 days and 30 nights to get her back. The question the game builds everything around is simple and devastating. Is your soul worth the lives of the people you love? Because every choice Cohen makes, every ability he uses, every piece of his humanity he trades for power, is a bet placed on that question. The villain of Dawnwalker is one of the most interesting antagonist designs in recent RPG memory. Brensis was born in the Roman Empire in 131 AD under the name Saeso Barianus Laurentius. He came from a noble family, was destined for power and greatness, climbed the ranks of Roman political life, and eventually became a senator. Then he became a vampire, and spent nearly 1,200 years accumulating knowledge, influence, and patience before walking into Vale Sangora and deciding it was time to stop hiding. He is not a mindless monster. He is a strategist with over a millennium of experience, someone who understands human psychology well enough to manipulate entire populations using their own religious beliefs against them. The road to launch game gameplay demonstration showed him presiding over what was described as a black mass, where the consequences of Cohen's earlier choices play out in brutal fashion. People die based on what you did or did not do. Here is how the game actually plays, and there is a lot to cover here. During the day, Cohen is human. The combat focuses on swordplay, using a directional blocking system where you choose one of 4 directions to attack or parry. It is precise and readable, with clear markers for incoming attacks and red skull indicators for hits you cannot block. He also has access to ritualistic magic in his human form. When night falls, he becomes a vampire, faster, stronger, with supernatural abilities including increased agility, enhanced senses, and powers he can build by draining other vampires. And that last part is genuinely interesting. Every vampire in the game has their own unique mutation or power. When Cohen drains one, he can steal that ability for himself. The skill tree builds differently depending on whose blood you take. He also has a blood hunger meter. If it gets too low, he becomes consumed by uncontrollable hunger, which starts affecting his dialogue options and his ability to interact normally with the world around him. Managing that meter becomes part of how you play. The 30-day time limit is the mechanic most people have questions about. Every major action costs time. Some side quests, certain dialogue choices, and even learning specific abilities have a visible time cost attached to them. But the developers have been clear that the system is designed to create weight and consequence, not to punish you for exploring. Game director Konrad Tomaszkiewicz said directly, "We do not want to punish you for doing stuff." What the time limit actually does is make you feel the urgency of Cohen's situation without feeling like a timer counting you down. It gives every decision a cost, and the world responds to the choices you make, including the ones you do not make. If you ignore a quest to help someone, that person faces consequences. If you choose to save one person, someone else might not survive the night. The game estimates 55 to 70 hours for a complete playthrough. You will not see everything in one run. Something worth understanding about the Blood of Dawnwalker before it releases. Rebel Wolves has been explicit that this is not a standalone story. This is the first chapter of a brand new saga. The history of Vale Sangora, the vampire hierarchies, the nature of Dawnwalkers, the political structures Brents has built over 1,200 years, none of that was created just for one story. Rebel Wolves built a world first and put a story inside it, which is exactly the approach that produces the kinds of games people are still talking about a decade later. The Witcher 3 team knows how to do this because they have done it before. A world that feels like it existed before you arrived and will keep existing after you leave is the hardest thing in game development to build convincingly. Based on everything shown so far, Dawnwalker has it. Pre-orders are live now across PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X/S. Multiple editions are available, including a collector's edition that comes with a physical world compendium, a Cohen figurine, a steelbook, and a physical map of Vale Sangora. The Eclipse edition includes a digital comic book, digital soundtrack, and digital world compendium. The Blood of Dawnwalker is being built by people who understand what makes a story-driven RPG last. They have done it before at one of the most successful studios in gaming history. Now they are doing it for themselves, on their own terms, with a world they built from scratch. A man who is human by day and vampire by night, with 30 days to save his family in a valley that has been cut off from the rest of the world, in a story where every choice you make has a real consequence. That is a genuinely compelling premise, and everything shown so far suggests the game can deliver on it. Subscribe to Playnetarium, where we dissect their stories, explore gameplays, breakdowns, uncover walkthroughs, and analysis.